zinazohusiana na matanga. Pata bima ili kuhakikisha yote yatakuwa sawa.
Wonderful Saturday, everybody waiting with bated breath to hear announcements from various camps. Well, this is Saturday, the Legends Edition. My name is Kasavuli, and our sign language interpreter is Lucy Maora. So please don't go away, stay with us. This promises to be a very interesting bulletin. We'll be joining John Jacob Curia very, very soon. First, the highlights. The wait is still on. Kenya Kwanza in a deadlock over the running mate position. Sonko creates a storm as Raila Odinga winds up Azimio coastal tour. Tough times ahead. Super petrol hits 150 shillings a litre in Nairobi as fuel prices are adjusted up by 5 shillings and 50 cents. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Kasavuli. Well, Topi Liambila will not be joining us on the sports today. He is attending a function, the Olympian Association. So I will be taking care of the entire bulletin, including sports. I hope you will enjoy it. And just before we go to all our other stories, we are joining John Jacob Curia of KBC, one of KBC's senior reporters, and he is going to take us through what's happening there. He's been camping at the Deputy President's residence in anticipation of the announcement of a running mate. John Jacob Curia, welcome.
Thank you, Catherine. We're still live from the Deputy President's residence in Karen, and we can officially report a deadlock in terms of identifying a running mate for Deputy President William Ruto. A deadlock. Why? Because you will remember during our 7 p.m. bulletin, we reported the exit of Rigathi Gachagua, the Member of Parliament for Madeira, as well as the Senator for the Rakanidi Kithure Kindiki, who left 2 hours before 7 p.m. That was about 5 p.m. But now we can confidently report that they are back in this mansion to continue, obviously, with the negotiations about the possible running mate for the Deputy President. But we can also officially call it a deadlock because there is no agreement whatsoever on who between Kithure Kindiki and Rigathi Gachagua will be the running mate for Deputy President William Ruto. And indeed, tensions are high. I would say that as the negotiations continue, and probably they will continue the next 1.5 or 2 hours, and I'm not very sure at this point whether we will get the announcement of the running mate for the Deputy President today or that will happen tomorrow. Because, like I've said, it is an official deadlock between Rigathi Gachagua and Kithure Kindiki. But the negotiations are ongoing, and the team is really adamant that by the end of the night today, they must have a running mate being declared for the deputy president. But considering the fact that this announcement was supposed to be made in the morning, then in mid-afternoon, and then in the evening, you would say they have spent quite a substantial time and hours discussing this conversation around the running mate. But also very interesting, because in normal terms we would say they are burning the midnight oil. Clearly, this is not the midnight oil. They have burned hours, day, time, the sun, and now the midnight oil, as they try to resolve this very big headache for the Kenya Kwanza coalition, because the deadline is on Monday the 16th. Every coalition, every presidential candidate is supposed to present his running mate or submit his running mate to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is the IEBC. Monday is the deadline. The question is, obviously with the rumor that Azimio are going to unveil their running mate tomorrow, is it possible then that Kenya Kwanza will unveil theirs before tomorrow, or what will happen in between? And that's a big question that is ringing in the minds of many, whether Kenya Kwanza will be able to declare their candidate by today. But let me also say, probably according to the sources that are inside the meeting that is ongoing, indeed there's been a back and forth between the two candidates, because initially there appeared to have been 4 candidates: Anne Waiguru, Ndindi Nyoro of Kiharu. Anne Waiguru, of course, is the governor for Kirinyaga, then Rigathi Gachagua of Madeira, and then Senator Kithure Kindiki of Tharaka Nithi. At some point in the evening, it has narrowed down to 2 candidates, that is Kithure Kindiki and Rigathi Gachagua. Negotiations still didn't yield anything, so they had to be sent out, according to our sources, probably until to allow negotiations or intense negotiations by the other leaders from Kenya Kwanza, and then they would be called back, and we can report they are back in this house, but still a deadlock in terms of identification of a running mate. How will this pan out? Obviously, we will be able to know probably in the next 2 hours, and whether the declaration will be made tonight or the declaration will happen tomorrow. But as it is, that's just it. And I think the big question, obviously, as I hand it back to you, Kasavuli, is a question of what each one of them brings to the table. For Kithure Kindiki, obviously, having come from Mount Kenya East, the question obviously is the number of votes that Mount Kenya East can deliver towards Kenya Kwanza, as compared to Rigathi Gachagua, who comes from Mount Kenya West, and the sizable number of votes that are in Mount Kenya West, and therefore there has to be a give and take between both. But we understand none of them is sitting ground. It appears like a sibling rivalry, but how it pans out, probably it's now calls for the wisdom of their leader, that is the deputy president, to see how this impasse is resolved. But again, just like I said in the beginning of this link, it is that officially this is a deadlock, but we'll be clearly following on the events here, and probably cover the event live once they're ready to unveil their running mate, if they do, in the course of the night. But for now, back to you, Catherine Kasavuli at Broadcasting House.
Well, as we continue with this bulletin, we will keep your lines open. You never know. We could just have an announcement anytime now. And over to our other news, making headlines. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party presidential hopeful Raila Odinga has pledged to transform the country's economy if elected president in the 9th August general election. Raila, who capped his coastal tour, rallied the youth to be part of the third liberation, that is a coalition that is seeking to create jobs in the country. Raila promising that his social economic welfare of giving 6,000 monthly stipend will be implemented within his 100 days of office.
Ndani ya siku hiyo 100 utendakazi wa bandari itakuwa imerudi hapa Mombasa. Ndani ya siku hiyo zote ile mpango nimeongea juu yake ya maskini, ya kusaidia maskini itakuwa imeanza. Kila kitu ambayo mimi nimetoa ahadi itatimizwa.
While addressing Mombasa residents in Mkomani grounds, the former Prime Minister said Azimio government will offer free education from elementary level to tertiary institutions. To boost Coast Blue economy, Raila said his government will deploy subsidized sophisticated fishing vessels to enable fishermen explore deep seas while fishing.
Tunaleta kitu inaitwa blue economy, uchumi samawati, ambao watu wetu watapatia hao vifaa vya kisasa vya uvuvi na waende kule naye ndani ya bahari huku ndani kabisa na kuleta samaki mingi hapa. Ajira mingi itapatikana kwa kina mama hapa pwani.
Raila also promised to ensure that there is a health program dubbed Baba Care to cover medical costs of all citizens. Leaders who had accompanied him, including na Kenya chairperson Martha Karua, Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu and Peter Kenneth, among others, promised to rally behind whoever is chosen for the number 2 slot.
Zote wale tulitamani kuwa madeputy, tuko nyuma ya baba. Yule atakayechagua, sisi tutaendelea na kazi. Hakuna mtu atatoroka. Sababu sio masilahi yetu, ni masilahi ya wananchi.
Hii KPA ndio pale tungeweza kuona special economic zone, manufacturing, ile bidhaa yetu yote ya Kenya ipite hapo ikienda ng'ambo, manufacturing ikifanywa na hawa vijana wetu unawaona mbele yako.
Kiwa hapa Mombasa, ule ambaye anaweza jenga uchumi wa Mombasa, ule ataangalia maslahi ya bandari ni Raila Amolo Odinga.
Earlier, the meeting had brief interruption after former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko, seeking the Mombasa gubernatorial seat, stormed into the venue, causing commotion. Sonko arrived in a convoy of vehicles, sparking excitement and protests in equal measure, forcing police to disperse the crowd for fear of violence. Michael Mondiga for Legends Edition, Mombasa County.
Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Alliance coalition party presidential hopeful Raila Odinga is likely to name his running mate Sunday at the historic Kamukunji grounds in Nairobi. The Azimio Nairobi team, led by Kamukunji Member of Parliament Yusuf Hassan and ODM Nairobi Chair George Aradwa, led other leaders affiliated to the coalition in an inspection tour of the ground, where Raila is scheduled to lead a rally on Sunday.
On Saturday, Azimio la Umoja Nairobi team, led by Kamukunji Member of Parliament Yusuf Hassan and ODM Nairobi Chairman George Aladwa, led other leaders affiliated to the coalition in an inspection tour of Kamukunji grounds, synonymous with the multi-party struggle, where Raila is set to address his supporters and unveil various aspirants seeking elective seats in Nairobi.
Ona wote tuko hapa tayari. Team ya Raila Amolo Odinga ya Nairobi iko gangari, iko tayari kuanza safari ya kuileta Nairobi chini ya Azimio tarehe 9 mwezi wa Agosti.
Tunaunga mkono our fifth president Raila Amolo Odinga, na hii ni timu ambayo itakabidhiana mundu kwa mundu kuona kwamba tumedeliver viti zote 17 na viti 3 za county. Kwa hivyo ni timu ambayo imepita kwa michujo na tayari imekaguliwa na ni wana siasa ambao wamejitolea.
Nairobi senatorial hopeful Edwin Sifuna was accompanied by former Nairobi County Speaker Beatrice Elati, assured supporters of Azimio a win in Nairobi County, saying the coalition party is meant for unifying all Kenyans and address the high cost of living.
Kwa kweli gharama ya maisha imeenda juu sana. Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga, tofauti na wale wenzetu ambao tunapingana na wao, executive order ya kwanza ya Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga chini ya siku 30 ni kuhakikisha kwamba bei na gharama ya maisha inashuka chini.
Why do we support Baba? We support Baba in Nairobi, 1, because of peace. 2, because of the economic pillar. That is the pillar that every SME, every person who is working within Nairobi who wants to do trade in the markets everywhere. And that is the pillar Raila Amolo Odinga is on.
There are indications that Raila might use the rally to name his running mate for the August 9th general election. From the list presented to him by a panel, he had appointed to vet a suitable candidate for the number 2 slot. Frederick Moki for Legends edition.
The 70 billion shillings Nairobi expressway is now open to motorists. The expressway, that is a game changer in the Kenya Road Development Network, has opened Saturday by Transport Cabinet Secretary James Macharia, who hailed the engineer for a job well done and completed a year ahead of the projected timeline.
It will now take you 15 minutes from James Gishuru Junction along Wayaki Way to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. All this is credited to the magnificent Nairobi Expressway, the second such feat in Africa.
I drove myself from James Gishuru all the way to where we are now, which is Jomo Kenyatta International Airport turnoff. It took me about 8 minutes only. Previously, I've driven from Jomo Kenyatta Airport to Westlands and took me about 2 hours before.
Speaking while on an inspection tour, Transport CS James Macharia urged Kenyan motorists to use the road in order for the government to recoup the money used for its construction through toll fees.
That will depend on how many vehicles come on this road. That's why you have to make sure that the road is seamless. That's why you have to make sure that Kenyans enjoy using it. And so when more Kenyans means the recovery period will be much shorter.
Welcome to Nairobi Expressway. Please show your pass voucher. Here is your change of 20 shillings and bill. Wishing you a pleasant trip.
Macharia said at least 11,000 vehicles have so far registered to use the expressway.
Publicizing the process of registration, which was only a few days ago. As of yesterday, we had 11,000 Kenyans registered. And we are registering at a rate of 800 per day, which is a massive, if you like, interest.
Macharia touts the road as a milestone for the Kenyan road network and what can be achieved if the private sector partners with the government for such mega projects.
The money which has been spent here and the money which the government could have spent here has been now spent elsewhere. It is one of the best pieces of infrastructure ever done in Africa. In fact, it's the longest expressway in Africa. And so we are very proud today.
The Inspector General of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, who accompanied the CS, said law enforcement will be deployed to man the road to avoid acts of hooliganism.
We have been working as a motor agency with the expressway, even the contractors. We have arrested quite a number of them. We have reduced significantly.
The CS said the government is also analysing a contract of 9 billion shillings to beautify the old road, upgrade and incorporate a bus rapid transport line.
Naweza waandivaiza watumia expressway. Barabara nimeona malipo. Okay. Mwendo ni mzuri. Manake traffic hakuna. Flow iko sawa kabisa. Ile ingine ni kwamba mambo na malipo nimeona through system iko sawa.
The 27-kilometer Mlolongo to Westlands Expressway is now ready for public use, and anyone found vandalizing the facility will face the full force of the law. Reporting for Legends edition from Westlands, I'm Ruth Wamboi.
Thank you, Ruth. Kenyans will have to brace themselves for tough times ahead after fuel prices went up by 5 shillings and 50 cents. This was announced by Energy, Petroleum and Regulatory Authority in its monthly review of fuel prices. In Nairobi County, a litre of super petrol will retail at 150 shillings and 12 cents, diesel at 128.76, while kerosene will retail at 116.69 shillings. The latest release is the highest ever the precious commodity have retailed in the country. We take a short break, and of course, when we come back, we tell you what's going on in a case in Kiambu. Don't go away.
To get John chapter 11 as your skiza tune, dial star 811 star 965 hash.
I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. John chapter 11 verse 25.
To get John chapter 11, dial star 811 star 965 hash. To get John chapter 11, dial star 811 star 965 hash.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
You've heard of them. They need your vote. The debate coming soon.
Police in Kiambu are investigating the circumstances under which a student at the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication was murdered and her body dumped in a thicket in Buriria village on the outskirts of Kiambu town. The body of the 22-year-old lady was found by passers-by this morning, together with her personal items, among them clothes, lying beside her lifeless body.
According to eyewitnesses, the victim, whose ID card shows is from Laikipia, had knife stabs on the back.
Yenye imesababisha kifo siwezi jua juu ni kama ameletwa huku. Hakuna community, hakuna mwenye anamjua, hajulikani hapa.
The scene was also disturbed, an indication that there was some struggle before the incident that has left the residents shocked and perplexed. The residents say no matter the circumstance, it is sad to lose such a young life.
Msichana moja umeuawa ukatupwa karibu na kwetu. Tumestuka sana, hatujasikia kitu kama hiyo, hatujawahi ona kitu kama hiyo kwa hii pande ya Bureria.
Elsewhere, police in Limuru are investigating an incident in which a police officer shot and injured a man in mistaken identity in Kabuko village. It is alleged that the victim, together with friends, were walking home at midnight when the officer shot at him, thinking he was a robbery suspect.
Wajue hii case ndio wainvestigatiwe. Mwenye huyo police officer mwenye alimshoot, I believe he was very irresponsible and careless.
The officer, in company of his colleagues, had responded to a distress call in the area after thieves broke into one of the houses. Limuru OCPD Ellen Mola say they are investigating the matter as the residents call for justice.
Tungependekeza kitu ya kwanza, hawa polisi sababu hatushirikiani na wao, tuondolewe kwanza. Tukiondolewa kwanza, alafu tuendelee na maisha yetu.
Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Legends Edition.
The body of the late Hilary Musi, the son of nominated Member of Parliament David Sankok, has been laid to rest on his father's farm in Narok South. A section of political leaders allied to Kenya Kwanza urged the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to give the family ample time to mourn their kin before any further inquiry.
Emotions ran high as the son to the nominated Member of Parliament David Ole Sankok, Musi Sankok, was laid to rest at his father's home in Narok. Leaders present, led by Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, Nandi Governor Stephen Sang, and Narok Governor Samuel Ole Tunai, condoling with the family. The political leaders now calling on security agencies to give the family to the late ample time to mourn their young son before further inquiry to his death.
Katika desturi yetu ya Kimasai na desturi ya Kiafrika, ukipoteza mtoto kama Musi ambaye ako na miaka 15, itakuwa ni jambo mbaya kuja kuzungumza mambo zingine za siasa. Lakini wacha tu niseme kitu moja, ya kwamba kwa sababu hawa viongozi kama vile mumesikia watakuwa Narok Jumatatu tukifanya launching ya Mheshimiwa Governor Ole Tunai kama senator, tutakuja kuzungumza hayo yote.
Ni sisi wote ambaye tumepoteza huyu mtoto, ni mtoto wetu, na sisi wote ndio tumepoteza.
Deputy President William Ruto, in a speech read by Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, eulogized the late as a brilliant and hardworking child.
Most of those who knew him could attest that Musi had taken over duties at a very young age. He was brilliant and promising.
On his part, Murkomen told of leaders who allege there was a divisive agenda in the Kenya Kwanza alliance.
We want to be in a country that no one will be judged by his tribe, by the color of his skin, by his religion, but by the content of his character and the leadership he is going to provide to this nation.
Na hata ile maneno itatokelezea leo ama kesho, wakati itatokelezea, tunajua yote tumeweka katika msingi wa neno la Mwenyezi Mungu. And whoever will be given the opportunity to support the Deputy President William Ruto in running for the presidency in this election, I am sure will be a candidate who will, one, support the agenda of bottom-up.
The late Musi died from a gunshot at their Narok home. An autopsy exercise Friday revealed that Musi died as a result of a single gunshot to the head. Irene Mchuma Udim, The Legends Edition.
A family is seeking 5 million shillings in financial assistance to enable them to take their kin to India for treatment. Lawrence Otieno has been suffering for the last 22 years and needs to undergo urgent treatment in India for a condition termed keloids, as his health has now been deteriorating.
2-year-old mechanic from Kamukunji in Kibra has been suffering from a condition known as keloids, which appears as a thick raised scar, sometimes accompanied by severe itchiness, something he has lived with for the last 22 years.
Ikaanza ndogo ndogo nikiwa 6 nikaendelea kuendelea na shughuli na chuo, kuendelea na chuo ikazidi. Sasa kuzidi ikabidi niache chuo.
The condition, he says, worsened when he came to Nairobi to seek medical attention at Kenyatta National Hospital, where the doctors cut the keloids, but it reoccurred again, covering the better part of his body.
Watu wa Kenyatta wakakata. Kukata ikapona. Baada ya kupona, ikianza kupona, inapona ikigrow. Juu hawakuchoma. Sasa kulingana venye walifanya hivyo, inazaana hii kitu. Ikitolewa hii side inarudi pande nyingine.
Lawrence is now pleading with well-wishers to help him raise the funds to travel to India for specialized treatment. Contributions can be channeled to him through his M-Pesa number 0722 634618. Trevor Ngendo for Legends Edition.
The Democratic Party now says that Justin Muturi should not be the party leader for allegedly absconding his duties. The party claims Muturi's decision to shift to Kenya Kwanza, contrary to resolutions reached, had compromised his position and that he had no authority to negotiate on behalf of the Democratic Party.
Democratic Party has maintained that National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi absconded his duties by shifting alliance to Kenya Kwanza despite a resolution to only enter into alliances after the general election. DP saying that according to the party constitution, Muturi should no longer be the party leader.
When you are presidential candidate, you become a party leader. And if he went through until the debate, we had no problem. Still, if he found another suitable place, we said he can go individually.
The duty he was given on 20th February is to lead the party up to the debate as a presidential candidate. He has already abdicated it.
Tulipokuwa NDC, mimi mwenyewe nilikuweko, nilisikia yaliyosemwa na ninataka kuona yaliyosemwa inatendwa, na bila kutenda hayo ni sawa na kukataa kufuatilia maono ya NDC.
DP is now awaiting a decision by the political parties' dispute resolution tribunal next Friday for a way forward, urging its aspirants to keep campaigning under the banner of the party. Meanwhile, a section of leaders from Nakuru have termed unfortunate threats by Kenya Kwanza to undertake administrative and legal steps to reverse some aspects of the Naivasha dryport project if elected into office.
We are very bitter about those words because we know Naivasha is in Kenya, and those developments have been brought here to serve everyone.
The leaders saying the move could erode investor confidence and affect hundreds of people employed at the port. In Kiambu, Safina Party presidential hopeful Jimmy Wanjigi took his campaigns to the county where he urged locals to back his bid.
Bwana dawa si yuko hapa. Dawa ya hii yuko hapa. Si yuko hapa. Ini ingine. Mukinishika. Inchi tanyamaza, watu watajua huku mbele ni namna gani.
And in Nairobi, Agnes Kagure, who failed to clinch the Jubilee ticket, says she will now go independent. Speaking in Kangemi, a section of residents expressed their support for Kagure, even as they faulted Azimio la Umoja for denying Westlands Member of Parliament Tim Wanyonyi a chance to run for the gubernatorial seat.
Sisi kama wamama wenye tuko hapa tutasimama na wewe kama utakuja kututembelea, tukuone uombe kura yako wewe mwenyewe na ukuje utujenge.
Tunasema mama, sisi ni watu wako, uende independent, uende wapi tutakufuata.
While Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya has warned the gamer community may be locked out of the next government should they fail to support Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance presidential hopeful Raila Odinga win the August 9th election.
Tukae Azimio, tusaidie Raila ingie, tumuongezee ile kanyama ya kuteremsha kilo kwa sababu wako na kura. Kuongezea tu ndio kilo ifanye hivi, kilo saa iko hivi, fanya hivi. Bas.
Nancy Okware, Legends Edition.
Thank you, Nancy. Thousands of 15 FM fans were treated to songs and dance as their favorite presenters abandoned the comfort of the studio on a Meet the People tour in Wajir County. The crowd also had an opportunity to engage with the presenters one-on-one compared to live studio engagement. Ifteen, one of KBC's vernacular stations broadcasting in Somali language, Adan Mohammed was on the ground, and here is his story.
On Saturday,
2000's Iftin FM 101.1 fans came out in large numbers to welcome KBC's vernacular radio station Iftin FM roadshow. It was an opportunity for them to have a one-on-one with their favorite presenters in person. The station, which broadcasts in Somali language, did not disappoint. The fans were treated to laughter as artists and comedians took the stage. Several presenters put their best foot forward too to display their talent. The fans also had an opportunity at the podium in which they competed for a chance to walk away with goodies including KBC branded t-shirts and caps among others. Presenters took the opportunity to advocate for peace and cohesion in the region.
Wajir is ours, and we are in an election year. We want to preach peace and love, and the aim of the ratio is Iftin FM to remain Wajir.
The team made several stops overseeing orally Wajir Stadium, Sokom Jinga, Mayalo Road, and a Grifty Stage. Andrew Kero for Legends Edition.
It must have been lots of fun. Education stakeholders have raised concern over the increasing number of learners who will not be admitted to Form 1 due to lack of school fees, despite efforts by the government to champion the 100% transition program. Almost 2 weeks since Form 1 students reported to school, Andrew Okero visited a few learners who are yet to report to school despite their exemplary performance in the 2021 KCPE examination, and filed the following report.
Reports from the Kenya's Economic Survey 2022 indicates that last year the country recorded the lowest number of transition of pupils from primary to secondary schools in the past 5 years. The report shows that in 2021, 75.8% of learners moved to secondary schools, with the completion rate standing at 5.5%, compared to a completion rate of 94.6% and a transition rate of 91% recorded in 2020. A worrying trend coming in the wake of the government's implementation of the 100% transition program.
We still have a sizable number of students, larger than usual, not reporting. They might say time is not complete, but I think we are completing on Monday.
We meet Esther Kageha at their home at Molem Estate in Nairobi. Esther is the last born of a single mother who is paralyzed and cannot be able to fend for her family.
Jana vile nilitoka nikirudi ananiuliza, "Mama, naenda lini shule?" Na akiongea hivyo hizo ulcers zinainuka tu.
Nilikuwa na 367, nikaitwa Lorito Kiambu Girls. Nilienda huko on Friday, lakini tulirudishwa juu hatukuwa na school fees na pesa za uniform. Alafu tukarudishwa na mattress na ndoo.
Esther can only watch a dream of joining Loreto Girls in Kiambu and becoming a neurosurgeon slip away.
After kuwa mgonjwa last year, life imekuwa too hard. Hata kupata chakula ni shida. Akitaka dawa zinahitajika, hakuna. Alafu naye kiateka na kuja, anataka pesa za rent.
Her story resonates with that of Brian Nyamache. He sat his KCPE exams at Glory Learning Center in Tasia Estate in Nairobi and was 2 marks shy of scoring 400. 1 week after his colleagues reported to school, Brian's family is still struggling to raise the school fees required for him to join Moi High School in Biruri in Runyenjes. Brian and Esther are among thousands of learners who excelled in their KCPE exams and are yet to join Form 1 due to high prices of commodities and exorbitant demands by schools.
I became the first position in my school, but also I was very unhappy because even the people who I passed, right now they are going to school, but for me, I'm just at home, worried. I have no hopes.
Kutoka mtihani itoke, nimejaribu kutafuta scholarship, lakini sikupata, sababu tegemeo yangu ilikuwa hapo. Amesoma through well-wisher.
According to Peter Amunga, an education expert, the government needs to embrace a collaborative approach in bridging the gap of inequality in education.
And Mago, as much as the minister tells us that don't listen to those principals are the ones on the ground. Yes. You will not enter that school. Mago is not at the gate to tell the principal, no, we are now uniform watch ingie. When you go there, you'll meet the principal of the school. Natakwambia, these are the school rules. If you don't want, go out. So parents have had to cope with the costs.
He also challenges the government to step up its efforts to fund schools to cushion parents against exorbitant requirements.
The problem with the Kenyan education system is that it is too expensive. Those expenses keep away learners. Learners are keeping away. Parents would rather not take their children to school because they wonder if they'll be able to afford. Funding must be looked into. Depoliticize education. Remove politics from education completely. Let education stakeholders run education. Allow now parents to have a big say in schools.
The family is now calling on well-wishers to come to their aid.
Education is the key to success, but it comes at a cost that is now proving to be too high for thousands of learners from vulnerable families. The government therefore needs to change the strategies to ensure equity in access to education.
Boresha maisha na bima. Kuwa na mipango mbadala ya sintofahamu za maisha. Gharama za ghafla za matibabu zinaweza kutatiza udhabiti wako wa kifedha. Bima ya matibabu hukupa utulivu wa akili. Wazawidi wapendao hakikisho la maisha mazuri na bima ya gharama zao za matibabu. Pata bima ili kuhakikisha yote yatakuwa sawa.
All I do is win. I wake up, I win. I close my eyes, and I win.
We got an emergency, girlfriend.
Keep up with me, come on, let's go. I love my curves and the skin I'm in. Switch it up, turn it down, take it up again. Come on, let's go. Independent women, come on, now let's get it. I'ma keep winning till the world stops.
Wow, you look great. Did you just come from the salon?
Darling Abuja, braids that stay salon fresh no matter what.
Our arts and entertainment industry has evolved over the years.
It is at such times that our destinies are written. Will we rise up in courage or die in cowardice?
Who are the movers and shakers in film and theatre? Get trendy as we review locally produced films and stage drama every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Cinemas and Theatre.
Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
You've heard of them. They need your vote. The debate coming soon.
Welcome to Sports. I'm Catherine Kasavuli. Team Kenya won 2 more medals at the ongoing 24th Deaflympics in Brazil, bragging bronze medals in both the women's 200 meters and 4x100 meter relays. With the additional 2 bronze medals, Kenya now has a total of 16 medals, 3 gold, 4 silver and 9 bronze medals, and tops the African continent but sits 12th globally in the games that end tomorrow.
Beryl Wamira finished third in the women's 200 meters, clocking 25.50 seconds to win a bronze medal for Kenya behind Pamela Losange of France and Oceana Brown of USA, who finished first and second in 23.93 seconds and 24.92 seconds respectively.
So when I started the race, I was hoping to get the second position because I'd seen that the lady from France was very good and I knew she was going to get the gold. So I was really hoping for the silver, but I have an injury. So I tried, but almost at the finish line, I got beat. So bronze is better than nothing, and I'm thankful to God for that.
In the women's 4x100 meters, the Kenyan team of Beryl Wamira and Zanzi Nyondo, Rael Wamira and Lynette Fwamba finished third in 51.15 seconds. Ukraine finished first in 48.96 seconds, ahead of USA, who timed 50.25 seconds. With the additional 2 bronze medals, Kenya's medal tally in the Deaflympics, which end on Sunday, increased to 16, 3 gold, 4 silver and 9 bronze medals. Kenya is top in Africa and 12th globally.
Kenya's #1 deaf golfer Isaac Makoha won a historic golf medal in Brazil as he entered his name in the annals of golf history as the first ever Kenyan golf medalist at the prestigious Summer Deaflympics. His wife, Susan Gathure, was a consistent figure, trailing Makoha as he repeatedly tackled the 9-hole course.
2020 amateur match play champion Isaac Makoha became the first ever Kenyan golf medalist at the prestigious Summer Deaflympics in Brazil. Makoha summoned willpower and confidence to rack up bronze in a highly competitive atmosphere, contrary to all expectations. His wife, Susan Mbuba, was a consistent figure, trailing husband as he repeatedly tackled the 9-hole course.
I think Makoha has very good focus and he's able to control pressure. Yeah, there are sometimes also he takes his time before making a decision, and golf really requires that. That has helped him to win the game.
Susan said that Makoha is focused and able to handle pressure, and that helped him win the medal. A golf-loving couple, Susan sometimes caddies for Makoha, as was the case in the first round of competition.
Yeah, I feel happy. I was here to encourage him. And then also just to give him anything he needs from time to time, snacks in the middle of the course. That's what I enjoy doing.
However, she slipped and injured her leg, making it difficult to continue the run. Nevertheless, the minor accident did not stop Susan from following her husband's progress in the tournament.
I feel very proud because this was a serious game. So I am so proud of Makoha today. Yeah, and this is not the first time. He's participated before, and this is the win that we got for the first time. Thank you.
She derives great joy from watching Makoha play and does not hesitate to point out his best qualities as a golfer.
Kenya's Abel Kipsang led a 1-2 Kenyan finish in the 1,500 meters at the Wonder Diamond League meeting held last night in Doha. Noah Kibet was the other Kenyan who won his race, the 800 meters, while Faith Kipyegon finished second in the 3,000 meters.
Abel Kipsang clocked 3 minutes 35.70 seconds to win the 1,500 meters race ahead of compatriot Timothy Cheruiyot, who clocked 3 minutes 36.16 seconds at the Wonder Diamond League meeting in Doha.
Kipsang gets it from Cheruiyot.
Noah Kibet starred in the 800 meters, easily winning in 1 minute 49.08 seconds, as compatriot Ferguson Rotich finished 5th in the 2-lap race.
Second place from Adolf. It's a big win for Kibet. It was quick, it was decisive, he got a gap and he was strong enough to hang on.
Faith Kipyegon had a tough 3,000 meters race as she wasn't quick enough in the final lap to beat Francine Nyonsaba of Burundi.
Was the favourite, but Nyonsaba comes away for the win. A big last lap, a big last 200 metres.
In the men's 3,000 meter steeplechase, Abraham Kibiwot had to settle for 3rd position in the race won by Morocco's Sofiane El Bakali.
Strong enough, but Girma's coming back at him. It's going to be tight on the line, and Girma gets it. Girma outleans El Bakali, and I'm convinced, although it's coming up, I have to say maybe I'm wrong, because they've given it to El Bakali.
The Diamond League meeting next heads to Birmingham in a week's time.
Nairobi County Aquatics Association is holding a 2-day invitational junior swimming championship that started today at the Makini School. The 2-day event has attracted over 10 teams of participants aged 11 years and below from clubs and schools in Nairobi. Organizer of the event, Ken Karani, says the event will help sport young talent to be nurtured for the seasons ahead. Seahorse Aquatic Center topped the medal standing after a competitive day 1. The event will come to an end tomorrow at the same venue, with participants competing in the 100 meters individual medleys, 25 meters butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, freestyle and mixed relays.
The Mombasa Gala.
Quite a good number of them will qualify into getting into the age groups championship that will happen the next week, this weekend of 3rd and 4th of June, and also they'll get their times maybe in the national database.
Well, that's all we had from the sports desk. My name is Catherine Kasavuli. And of course, as we wind up the bulletin, we do have our living legend, Kinuthia Wamwangi, being engaged in an interview. Living legends, don't go away.
On the 27th of August 2010, a new constitution was promulgated. The Supreme Law introduced the devolution structure to guide the then local authorities' fate into the county government structure. The Transition Authority was established. A long-serving local authorities management expert took up the chairmanship of the Transition Authority and worked to establish the urban areas classification rules and management structures that we have today. On the Living Legends today, we hear from lawyer and local authorities administration expert Kinuthia Wamwangi. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for joining us on Living Legends.
Thank you.
A lot of people know you as the man who birthed the devolution in this country.
Yes.
But you have a long checkered history.
Yes.
Can we get to know something about you? When were you born and where were you born?
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you very much. I was born in 1950 and I was born in Molo Forest in Nakuru district. Today we call them the counties, but then they were it was Nakuru district. So that is my background. I don't know whether you want me to explain how I grew up or where I went.
I can give you a minute to do that.
Yes. You see, I don't think I have ever known a permanent home like the way people say I come from Kegio village. because immediately, I think 3 years or less than 3 years after I was born, my father was, like all other people, taken to detention. And we were supposed to be moved to then Central Province. But it happened that one of my grandfathers worked for a forest, for the forestry department in Erbagon, Gishagi village. So my mother pleaded to be allowed to join the father at Gishagi village. And at Gishagi village is where I stayed from 1953, when my father was taken to Marigat, a detention camp. We stayed there.
By the colonialists?
By the colonialists, of course.
Yeah.
Detention camp, oh yes, yeah, detention can also be latter day.
Yeah.
But that was by the colonialists, 1953. So we went to Gishagi forest, and we were there for 4 years. My father was released 4 years later, and he was brought back to Molo, where they had taken him from. So we shifted. He was given work by the Catholic Church, one as a part-time catechist, and then doing other jobs. Then he was posted because of his catechist work to open what you call an outstation of the Catholic Church in Mariashoni Forest.
So how did you end up in public space?
Now, in public space, I ended up because, and this is a bit interesting, when I was in the Kenya School of Law, I saw a job advertised for county clerk in Nakuru, and I applied. And surprisingly, a student in Kenya School of Law, I was interviewed and passed. So now I was the clerk of Nakuru County Council. But then just before I left the school, because I was employed several weeks before I left, it was announced to me that the job had been taken away from me.
Wow.
Why? Because the clerk who was there had been sacked and had been reinstated by Mzee Kenyatta. And nobody could argue with that. But they told me, you go to Thika, we are going to create a position of legal officer. If you do your interview and you pass, the salary will be compatible. But if they accept you, we shall create the position. Then I became April 20th, 1975, I became the legal officer
for
Thika Municipal Council.
How did you end up in Mombasa as a deputy county clerk?
What happened is that in the meantime, I had now been admitted to the bar, and I translated into an advocate, Thika Municipal Advocate. And when I saw an advert in my second year of employment in 1976, I applied. And I asked the town clerk to allow me to apply, who was my boss. He agreed. So I applied. And it was interesting, because when I went for interview, I was a very young man. I was hardly 26, right? But then there was some commission called the Nyali Commission. You know, the youngest person after me had 7 years of practice as a lawyer. Then the others were very old people, old relatively. They were in their 40s and so forth. But the commission argued, if we take this young man, his life is going to be destined to be in Mombasa, and he might end up to be the town clerk. So it was an investment in me.
But 2 years later, you moved to Thika now.
Why I moved 2 years later to Thika? Because I was they had not had a legal officer. So I think my work was very impactful, particularly in collecting rates and at least making people comply with the municipal requirements.
So then you moved to Thika.
So what happened, take it from me or not, they sent for me.
The Thika Municipal Council?
Yes, they sent the deputy mayor.
How did
the deputy mayor came to... The deputy mayor came to Mombasa. He had some property there. And he was telling me to look, just keep watch. He told me, I've been told by the other councillors to come and request you to apply for this job.
How much were you earning back then?
In Mombasa or in Thika?
In Thika.
My first job as a legal officer was earning 2,500.
2,500.
But
of course, that was a lot of money back then.
Of course, we could do anything. Then when I went to Mombasa, I was earning 5,000.
As a deputy town clerk?
Yes. But then, that 5,000, I was able to buy a car with it.
And how did you used to relate with county councillors? I mean, councillors. And, councillors did not have a very good reputation because they had a way of settling their issues physically.
Yes. Let us take it this way. Let's take it from the time I was a town clerk, which was 1979. And I became town clerk at the age of 29. They took me as their child. The youngest councillor probably was something like 40. The oldest was 63 or thereabout. So they took me as their child.
And they nurtured you.
And they nurtured me. Mayor Kibicha literally nurtured me because he had employed me from the School of Law. He had hired me again with his councillors from Mombasa. He had sent for me. So they saw me as their child and they nurtured me. And don't forget, I was the second graduate in Thika Municipal Council. The first one was called Irongo. He was a municipal engineer. So now I brought a new type of leadership because I brought in planning, I brought up innovations. I introduced many things because my time in Mombasa, working under a commission, a municipal commission, taught me a lot of things.
And all this time, you were not married?
Now, when I became town clerk in 79, I got married the following year.
In 1980?
Yes.
Was your wife supportive?
Supportive of me?
Yeah.
My wife, up to today, she is very supportive.
And then
she has always been very, very supportive.
And then you ended up having 4 kids?
We ended up having 4 kids.
Who are now in East Australia?
All of them, yes. They are also very supportive.
Your wife at some point was very concerned about you joining politics.
Yes, and she is still very, very, very concerned even now.
But you wanted to join politics?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I did believe that one day I would be a minister in Kenya government. And therefore, the only way you could become a minister in Kenya government was through competitive politics. So I got the opportunity.
And back then you had to be in KANU, Kenya African National
Union. Yes. I got, when I was a town clerk and later on personnel and administration manager of NSSF, I used to be the recruiter of officers into life membership of KANU, which means I was more KANU than many people.
So fast forward, 2012, you are picked to birth devolution in this country.
Yes.
Based on your expertise as a former town clerk.
Yes.
How was that moment for you?
Up to today, I think it was 19th of June will remain in my mind as the greatest day of my life so far. Because I didn't become a minister of government, but you are given a unique project of this country that it has never been there, and probably it will never be there in the form that it came. A unique project to transform your country. Do you understand? To transform your country from a decentralized form, from a centralized form of governance into a decentralized form of governance. Do you know how much that means to me? it is 10 times better than being a minister, because it affected everybody. The president, it affected you at home, it affected my mother, it affected everybody, because you had to define new systems of governance. You see, have you ever imagined having a crocodile that has just swallowed some meat, and that meat was not meant for the crocodile, it was meant probably for your dog, and then you put your hand into the mouth of a crocodile and you're taking out the meat. Transfer of functions, transfer of power, transfer of resources was like taking meat from the mouth of a crocodile, because you know how a centralized government is.
2013.
They don't part with any power, they don't part with any functions, and here there was no persuasion.
In 2013, when governors were voted into the office, and they were driving around town with convoys of vehicles and sirens, announcing that a new sheriff is in town. Your first meeting with governors, how was it?
Let's talk about, those are two things. There is the going town with the sheriff. That was my doing. If we did wrong, blame me. Because to transfer power, you have to make it visible. So we had to have...
So it was intentional?
It was intentional. We have to get the biggest car, the largest car that can carry a governor. If the municipality didn't, if the county didn't have that kind of car, we hired one. We had to have a flag. We have to have a kind of escort cars and so forth, so that people can see there is a new sheriff who carries power, and he is being escorted by government soldiers, by government policemen. It was a demonstration of power, and that's the only way I could show that I have actually devolved the power to another center.
So how did they then, the governors, turn against you? Because the chairman of the council, the council of governors back then was Peter Munya.
No. Then it was governor from Bomet. It was Ruto.
Ruto.
Yes.
And they used to say that at some point they started saying that you are an obstacle, or transition authority was an obstacle to the proper rollout of devolution.
Yes, because they became the smaller alligator. Because there are things that they wanted to swallow, right? Because the governors came now when the power got into their heads, and therefore they thought they were supreme. So I had also to discipline them. I had to make sure that they live within their limits. So I had to go to the smaller alligator and take the meat out of it. Don't forget that I was the only person in Kenya who could issue an instruction to a governor, because this constitution says these are two distinct governments,
but distinct roles.
But they are distinct but consultative, which means nobody in government, Kenya or anybody, could write or instruct a governor. If they wanted to do so, they wrote to me or they called me and asked, we want to communicate this to the governors. So it's only Kinuthia Omangi who could communicate to them that from now onwards you cannot remove number plates from government vehicles and place private number plates. It's me who could give that rule. So I am the only one who could be an obstacle to what they want to do by telling them, stop, you can't do that.
Your term came to an end in 2016.
Yes.
You pleaded for more time.
Yes.
Saying that that process required about 10 years to roll out.
Yes.
But that offer was turned down after tremendous pressure from the governors.
Yes.
Are you convinced that that affected the rollout of devolution in Kenya?
If you look at my write-ups when I was in office, I had said that the total transformation of Kenya into a devolved system would take 20 years. But I didn't want to be in office for 20 years. I only needed probably 3 other years, 3 more years to put up structures. That, you know, once you put a structure, it became self-propelling. So I felt we had not completed the structures that would become self-propelling.
When it was turned down, what kind of a setback was that for you and your team?
It was not a setback for me, it was a setback for Kenya. Because up to now, Brian, they are still dealing with assets of former local authorities. And I was supposed to come out with 48 asset registers. One of the 48 register was all government assets, national government assets, all. Whether they are in the universities, whether they are anywhere else. I was supposed to have handed over an asset register.
What would you say was your defining moment as transition authority?
We didn't come to finish even those 47 other registers. And that exercise has been redone by the Intergovernmental Relations Committee.
Yeah.
It is still not yet
your
complete.
Predecessor?
No, my successor.
Yeah, I mean your successor, yeah.
Yes, it is not yet done. They haven't completed even I think this was the time they are thinking about documenting government assets, and it's a monumental activity.
What was your highest moment at Transition Authority?
I think it is swearing in the governors.
Swearing in the governors. What was
day I was in the field in the Uhuru Park with His Excellency Prime Minister Raila Odinga, swearing in with the judge Kidero, and my representatives, my members all over the country at the same time at noon,
swearing in
27th of April 2013. I had representatives all over the country, 47 counties. Someone authorized by me to take charge of the swearing of governors at noon. All of them were sworn at noon, 27th of April 2013.
And what would you say was your lowest moment at Transition Authority?
I would just say the lowest moment is when they did not understand. When I saw the same governors turning against me and saying I can't continue.
And so, since you left office, what have you been up to?
I've been up to many things. One, I do partial consultancy on many things, HR, law, and devolution, and all that. But above all, I decided now this is the time to document my experiences on devolution. So I can say from 2016 I took very serious, a very active disposition to write books. And now I can say one book, so I was telling your colleague, came out yesterday from Jomo Kenyatta Foundation. It came from the printer. And I've given it for review to one of the media.
What is the name of the book?
It is called The Decentralization Dialogue in Africa, a precursor to Kenya's devolution. So that book is out now. I touched it yesterday, and it is there, ready for the market to be read. It tells you where devolution came from, because the decentralization is a project of the World Bank.
So, as we wind up this interview, I want to hear from you.
Yes.
What motivates you to keep going every day?
One, it's very interesting to be alive. And by the way, I didn't tell you I have written another book on a crisis that I have noted in the Kenyan society. My book is called Marriage Crisis in 21st Century. It's complete. It's now being reviewed by the people in the market.
Very well.
Now, what drives me is just the essence of being alive. Why has God kept me alive up to now? And how useful am I to society and to God? So, if God keeps you alive, and He keeps you like you are, a very handsome young man, should you waste yourself and allow yourself to go to the dogs? You have to do something that that praises God, and that enhances society.
What are your regrets at the age of 72?
I don't think I can remember any regrets, because I never allow a moment to pass in my life without trying what I want to do at that particular time.
So you don't have regrets?
So if I fail, if I try and fail, I say I tried, but I failed. So I accept. So that is in the past.
How would you want to be remembered, and how would you want your epitaph to be written?
Really, it has already been written. You told me you birthed devolution. Although there's a little confusion there when I go to different places.
Yeah.
They say this is the father of devolution. And I'm very quick to inform that I'm not the father of devolution. The Ayash Palgai, there is the Prime Minister, there is the Kibaki, there is, everybody is a father, because at different stages they participated in formatting the devolution. But in this country, I'll be remembered as the midwife. I midwifed devolution.
That's how you want to be remembered?
That's how I want to be remembered. I midwifed devolution, and I can assure you the mother and the child are doing well.
Very good.
Yes.
Kinothia, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and of course for sharing with us your insight. And we wish you the best of luck in the years and days ahead of you.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Well, a story of resilience in his younger years to a pursuit of excellence in his professional life. The story of Kinothia Wamwangi, the chairman emeritus of the Transition Authority, who was at the heart of transforming local authorities to administrative units under devolved government. He had seen the highs and the lows of it all and has it curated for posterity in his book. It has been a pleasure hosting Kinothia Wamwangi on Living Legends. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you for your time.